So we're now in the restaurant, overlooking the gardens. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's a beautiful, peaceful room. Yeah. Obviously the kitchen, there's kitchen noises going on, and this is a real little sort of tranquil space. It's beautiful here. And we were chatting earlier about the fact that you had been awarded a Michelin Star in your first year, which is practically unheard of, and I think congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I'm delighted for Sussex and Horsham as well. And you said to me, oh, you were lucky. No, I'm afraid you weren't lucky. It's to do with fantastically high levels of skill and an awful lot of hard work. So, I mean, Leonardslee was closed for many years, wasn't it? And it was taken over in, oh goodness, was it?
It was late 2017. They eventually took over, and then they started work beginning of 2018 to fully restore the gardens.
Well, I've walked around the gardens and they're absolutely magnificent. I mean, but I love the fact that it's sort of wild and natural, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And this complements it perfectly, being, you know, I should think coming into a summer evening when you can actually sit outside and have a drink beforehand. Yeah. But then it's got a lovely coziness as well in the winter time. So.
Yeah, we're quite lucky really, because we had a blank canvas pretty much, so everything was quite overgrown, but we had really good ideas to what we wanted to put where. So we were quite lucky we could dictate how it needed to come across.
You must have had such a vision of how you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think it's quite difficult to get that vision across, so nothing is always perfect. But we've worked well, and obviously this is a project that's very long term, so nothing's going to be perfect right now, but 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we're hopefully getting really close to where we want to be. Well,
talking about perfect, that chocolate looks perfect to me, so I'm going to have a little taste.
No worries.
But one of the other things that you're quite well known for is the afternoon teas.
Okay.
So that's quite an experience in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, so we try and, again, without doing it too different, afternoon tea, we take a real classic look and take on it. So there's nothing quite better than the quintessential English afternoon tea. So we really wanted to make that Leonardslee version of it. So obviously we've got various different guests and people that want different things when they come to the estate. So we wanted to create a tea where somebody could come and sit down in between exploring the gardens, or just come and have a nice afternoon if they didn't even want to go to the gardens. But again, the gardens kind of play a little bit of influence in the tea. My same kitchen team looks after the tea, so that will become almost our day offering. And what we do is we just take the classic and we break it down into 3 acts. So we do our savouries in Act 1. Act 2 becomes your scones and creams and jams and everything like that. And then we clear that all up, and then we give you Act 3 where we just flood the table with sweets.
Oh, goodness.
And just pretty much feed you more than you can handle. And then we give you cake and just give you as much as we can, just so you can enjoy your afternoon.
Sounds
we
amazing.
pair it with rare teas that are sourced from around the world, complement different flavours and things like that.
So how long would a typical Leonardslee afternoon tea
take? When we're busy, we try and we give you time slots, so depending on your tables, but roughly about 2 hours we would try and aim for. But if we're not too busy, we don't mind guests relaxing and have taken their time through things.
It's an indulgence, actually, afternoon tea.
Is,
and people have to stop their schedules and just focus on just that, and it becomes quite memorable. Actually, it's also quite accessible because you know, for people who perhaps are you know unsure, that want to sort of dip their toe in the water a little bit, coming here, it's a great way of introducing
definitely, I think.
this space, and
it appeals to a lot more guests than you would actually think. So we also do a savoury option. We would give you more of a lighter lunch to go with it. So we'd do like a Scotch egg or a chicken liver parfait with brioche and things like that. That then go on top of the normal afternoon tea. So just to try and increase what you'd be having. And yeah, I think we've got a really nice balance. The house itself works tremendously well for the offerings that we have. And we get to keep it a little bit separate from each, so that we can still focus on the small details, which is kind of key for what we want to do.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So what we do is we try to make it, it's more of an experience. We don't want someone just to say, oh, we're going out for dinner. We're creating that dinner experience. So from the first steps to the door till the whole evening until you leave, it's hopefully something not different, but something special, something that you've wanted to possibly do or you weren't expecting. And we want to bring across our story of what we're doing. And pretty much our menus, we do tasting menus. They're all surprise menus, so you won't really know what you'll be eating in the evening. You tell us of any dietary requirements that you might have, anything you don't like, we will avoid, and we substitute different where it's needed. And we just create a dining experience where we try and bring the gardens to life for every single course. So if you take this one, for instance, where we've done the chocolate, you've got the caramel that comes from the garden, you've got now the birch and the ice cream, which is then also just directly from the gardens. And that's just something small. So every menu sometimes has more complex and sometimes a little bit more simple. What we do is we try and create every single dish that comes on, that's on the menu, whether you take the longer or the shorter one, there'll be something from the gardens on there. So whether it's been foraged, whether we've grown it, whether it comes from our chickens, we get pigs every now and then, we've got our own bees. We're just constantly doing things. I've got a couple more ideas, but obviously we've had to put a hold on a few things. And we're just going to be constantly creating fun ideas.
So it's sort of working with nature as well.
It is, yeah, without being too gimmicky.
Of course.
Obviously we want to be fun, interactive. I think there's quite a lot of stuff that's quite interactive. But it just helps tell our story. So what we want to do is we want to explain to you what we've done, where we've done it, and how it all ties in over the 20 odd courses that you'd be eating over the
So
evening.
when you say a shorter or a longer menu,
Yes.
how many courses are we talking about?
So we try not to put a set number on it because obviously seasonality, availability and things like that kind of dictate what we can do. So the shorter menu can range from anywhere between 14 to 18 courses. I think currently we're on 17 at the moment. And the longer menu goes from around 18 to 24. I think we're currently running about 23 at the moment. So.
Some people would think, oh my goodness, I'm never going to be able to eat that. But some of these courses are just tiny mouthfuls.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting as much flavour as we can, as small as we can. I mean, it's a substantial meal. A lot of people are really more than adequate full when they're finished. But it's more than just the food. It's more about tasting everything, enjoying it, understanding what we've done. And just, so you shouldn't feel overly bloated or overly full. You should there'll always be something that'd be quite exciting, something that maybe you've never tried before.
So it's a real taste experience.
Yeah. So obviously we try and create this the experience through the evening, but we don't want to take up the whole night. So we try and encourage guests to get here between 6:30 and 7. We'd start accepting guests from 6 o'clock if they want to come for more drinks. And we just start it from there. Take about 3.5 to 4 hours for your dining experience.
And it's one sitting, everyone sort of sits down roughly the same time.
Pretty much the same time, yeah. So we can try and get through. Otherwise you'll be here till after midnight and I think people get a bit bored after that. So we try and avoid going over the 11:30 barrier. But yeah, it's definitely something where you've got to come in with time and intention to just enjoy and relax. Our ultimate goal is to take you away from your crazy schedule for the evening. You come in and we just take care of you as much as we possibly can.
Jean, I've had a lovely afternoon with you today and just loved eating your chocolate dessert. Thank you so much for everything and thank you for hosting us today. It's fascinating and I really wish you lots of luck.
Thank you very much for joining us.